Hello everybody, David Shuster here. Meteorologists are now issuing dire warnings about U.S. hurricanes in 2025. Headline, 6 storms to smash the U.S. as forecasters warn of blockbuster hurricane season. Here's the latest from AccuWeather.
So for this year, we're forecasting 13 to 18 named storms across the Atlantic basin, 7 to 10 of which we expect to become hurricanes. And then of those 7 to 10, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. That's category 3 or above. But the number that everybody wants to know about, how many impacts for the United States. Last year, we saw 6, a very, very destructive year. This year, we're forecasting 3 to 6 hits on the United States.
In other words, the hurricanes could be as destructive as the storms that hit the United States in 2024. Those storms caused $500 billion in damage and killed more than 400 people, the worst totals in 20 years. The federal government agency that used to help American communities prepare for, endure, and recover from natural disasters is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. But President Trump and his team, including DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, are in the midst of shredding FEMA.
And we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but it's all good, and we're working hard, and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised.
And by keeping Trump's promises, the 2025 storm season is now an afterthought. Headline, we're not preparing. As Trump officials vow to eliminate FEMA, the agency is already in turmoil. Quote, the agency is in turmoil with disaster assistance, grant money, and hiring largely stalled, threatening its ability to respond to major disasters, multiple FEMA officials tell CNN. March is typically when we're finalizing hurricane plans. A lot of that got paused. The FEMA official works directly on disaster response, told CNN. So it's already having an impact, which is that we're not preparing. Instead of preparing for hurricane season, one official told CNN they've spent days checking workers' renewal dates and working on justifications for their roles. The recovery from previous disasters is also on pause. There are several reports that $100 billion in recovery funding is now in limbo, even though Congress already approved that money. The New York Times reports that a North Carolina college ravaged by Hurricane Helene can't rebuild unless federal money starts flowing. Meanwhile, a group aiding survivors of Hawaii's Lahaina fire is about to begin layoffs. The Times says some FEMA money has been frozen, not because of funding cuts, but because FEMA officials fear sending funds that might violate Trump orders against helping undocumented immigrants or sanctuary cities. And it all gets even worse, because the Trump administration is cutting America's weather forecasting capacity. The scientists and meteorologists who used to give us precise notice about where, when, and how a storm will hit, well, those forecasters are being terminated, and the cuts come on top of this.
Government watchdog report in 2022 found the agency was understaffed by 35%. Also among FEMA's layoffs, Marine Corps veteran and father of 3, John Whippler.
I'm sure there are some things that do need to be cut down or removed, but does everything need to be?
Under fire for its response to Hurricane Helene last year, FEMA drew backlash from President Trump.
And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly, we pay a percentage to the state.
But Eileen Renault has this message for the president.
Really look at what you're doing to families and individuals across America in small towns, counties, and states that voted for you.
Now, those towns and those people are more vulnerable than ever. And lawmakers in both parties keep pointing out that FEMA, with its advanced placement of resources, help, and organization, can do a lot of things that local governments are not prepared for. Plus, there is the sense of shared responsibility. Vermont Senator Peter Welch has been pleading with the Trump administration not to dismantle FEMA, but to fix it.
The state of Vermont, when we had these catastrophic floods in July of 23 and 24, and then in South Carolina, that Hurricane Helene, those states, those property taxpayers, they don't have the resources. And what we've had with FEMA is really a compact among all of the citizens of the country that when your area gets hit by something beyond your control, a catastrophic weather event, we'll all be there. And I think we want to maintain that sense of unity, that we'll be there for one another. So federal resources are essential.
But Donald Trump has made up his mind. He's shutting down FEMA, and his Secretary of Homeland Security is bragging about carrying out Donald Trump's wishes. And so with literal wildfire and hurricane seasons on the way, it's the Federal Emergency Management Agency that is the disaster. And people who face the wrath of Mother Nature, they are going to be on their own. Now, you might think that this kind of change would be of some concern to members of Congress, but the Republicans in charge of the House and the Senate have decided not to examine or review Donald Trump's government restructuring. Instead, the GOP-led House is currently focused on walk-in refrigerator efficiency standards.
While our economy is in crisis, while groceries and housing are at an all-time high, while our veterans and our firefighters and our teachers are being illegally fired, while Elon Musk is dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, and while the Secretary of Defense is trying to cover up the most incompetent national security leak I have ever heard of in my life, the Republicans in the House are trying to save the American people from the scourge of walk-in cooler and refrigeration efficiency standards. That's right. We are here wasting precious debate time on the U.S. House of Representatives floor debating, dismantling efficiency standards for walk-in refrigerators. How out of touch are you with the American people? Like, literally, I know you're not holding town halls and meeting with your constituents anymore, but you think that the American people voted for you to waste our time on refrigeration standards? That's what you think you were elected to do? Literally, how out of touch are you? Because no American voted. No American, I don't care where you are on the ideological spectrum, you did not vote for this. This is ridiculous, it's preposterous, and it's just stupid.
But stupid is how the Trump administration and the Republicans in Congress keep rolling. The find-out phase from their abdication of federal disaster relief is coming soon. The forecast is horrifying. By the way, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is getting busted and mocked over her lies in Signalgate.
And the president and our team have been incredibly transparent about what happened. No classified information was shared in this group chat.
On X, Leavitt added, no war plans were discussed.
What are they arguing, that an attack is different than a war? They put operational details of a forthcoming attack on a terrorist organization into Signal, into a Signal chat that included phone numbers that they didn't recognize.
Time now 11:44 Eastern Time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are at go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern Time. F-18s launch first strike package. 13:45 trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch. 14:10 more F-18s launch.
Everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in.
You that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
And the American people should be grateful to these individuals, and especially to President Trump, for putting together such a competent and highly qualified team.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Doc, who wrote, "Perfect stooge for a stooge president." I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump decimating FEMA, as the latest forecasts predict this next hurricane season will be the worst in the United States in 20 years. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.